Subculture Talk. I am Pat626, and normally I host Subculture Shock Sunday nights on Twitch. And I get to play a lot of really cool goth, industrial, darkwave, deathrock, and synthpop. And more than a small amount of it comes from Give Take Records. And so tonight I get to talk with Joshua Lexvold and Augustus Watkins about Give Take Records and exactly what the hell they're doing. So Joshua and Augustus, yo.
Hey.
Hey, Pat.
For those of us that have never met you before, which one's which?
I'm Pat.
Whoa! Okay, cool. Well, in that case, I'm going to go take a nap. I just got off work.
Yeah. Welcome to Subculture Talk. I'm now the host of the show. Deathwave, death pop, synthwave,
Let's go.
goth, industrial, dark stone.
I have said all those genres together the same way so many times for so many years that if I forget one of them, the whole train just derails.
I was going to suggest a new genre that, but now I won't do that because.
Oh no! By all means, let's give
I don't
me a
want to
headache.
topple the house of cards.
Oh come on! That means I get to build a prettier one.
That's true. Is that we are? I'll tease this. We are going to just to jump in and start plugging before you go know anybody.
This is your interview.
Just to derail.
But
this
you
whole
still
thing.
haven't told anybody your actual name.
So this is me here. This is Augustus. People can see me. Is that the story?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
People can see you, and people can see all of us. You just can't see me.
Right. Okay. Which is a shame. So I'm here. I'm Augustus. I am based in Los Angeles. I am one of the co-owners of Give Take, along with my partner,
Josh, out of Minneapolis here.
So I was going to say, we are working this. If you like what you've heard, if people like what kind of the music we're doing, we are working on a very special project. I'll say that. Where we are going to start. I'm trying to be coy here. I'll say this, Pat. There's a new genre that we're going to want you to include in your list.
I'm excited now.
Yeah. I don't know, Jay, how much more we want to say about it, but
Hey, I'm open. You can tease a little.
I mean, oh my God. All of a sudden the stripper music plays in the background.
Oh, I can tease a lot. Yeah. So we're gonna add a new genre to the list. Pat, and you will obviously be one of the first people to hear about it, and if past performance has been any indication, you'll probably be one of the first people to play from it. So.
So it helps that most of the stuff comes out by like Friday, and my show's on Sundays. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. So
let's go first.
It's a timing thing, which is great.
Yep.
I hope you like the music, but I'm glad the timing works for you.
Oh no, I definitely like the music, or else I wouldn't play it. DJ D42 in chat is hoping that it is CryFest. Is the name of the genre.
Diana, hi. It is now. It is now. Yeah.
It is now. All right.
It's gonna change our entire progression of what we've been planning for months.
It's now You know what though? Like you could, if you haven't already, you could put on a festival and just call it CryFest.
CryFest. Please, it's a really good name. I think that's what you were going to say
well,
too.
So
right?
the thing is that I actually for Streamcation in a couple of weeks I'm going to be debuting a new show that isn't going to be weekly, but I'm going to throw it out every once in a while. That is nothing but like goth and post-punk music, past and present, beat matched, and it's actually called "Put Out the Lights and Cry." So, so I am officially asking to be the DJ for CryFest, even though CryFest didn't exist until like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. Well, you may have to, I think so. I think we've got DJ D42 in the, to contribute maybe in the video.
Well, and Adam Bomb's in the chat now too, and is also behind CryFest. So it's happening. We haven't even started the interview proper, and CryFest is happening.
I mean, the emo revival is huge right now. So this.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, like, My Chemical Romance just dropped a new track today, so it's time to get on it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Wow. Do not. I am prone to. I'm prone to these to like taking an idea like this and then goading Josh into doing it. So
well, that's the thing, is that basically you're dealing with me who just will be like, oh, hey, COVID just hit, maybe I can do another show, and then just happens.
Yeah.
So like, and then you've got the two people in chat that created a goth music 24-hour music video channel. So yeah, I think CryFest exists now.
Yep.
I
think so. Wow, what have we done?
Well, welcome to the interview, guys. How's it going?
Really good. Great to be here. I'm Pat626.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So to start off proper, now that we've already got some plugging out of the way, plenty more plugging to go though. So I always like to start interviews off with what I call the supervillain origin story. So how did each of you get into this type of music? Like what really got you into not just listening to it, but then eventually like making it and promoting it?
You start, Josh. I'm so bad at this.
Sure. Yeah, my affinity for kind of all things electronic came from my mom mainly, who was just super into top 40 stuff when I was a kid, and just I was exposed to that constantly, in the car back and forth to school or wherever, all the kind of 80s pop and maybe new wave stuff. So I think that's where my love of electronic music kind of came from initially. When I was a teen, then it verged more into kind of darker stuff and more underground dance music. And then I started, experimenting. I started off in bands playing, bass and guitar, and then it kind of evolved or maybe devolved into electronic music,
depending on who you ask.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Synths and any kind of electronic instrument I could get my hands on, and that's kind of how I started on this path personally.
Here's what I want to say. My supervillain origin story definitely comes because I was in a fairly busy, prolific kind of rock band in Minneapolis, and we were like ride or die. It's like we were the Five Musketeers with each other for a lot of years, and the band ended the way bands do. Somebody quit because they thought they were going to get more famous in another cooler band sooner, and then somebody moved away. And in the sort of the aftermath of that, trying to figure out who I was, like as an artist, as a person, because my identity was really wrapped up in this band, and in a lot of ways kind of still is. So a friend of mine who's an engineer, and he had heard some of my demos and had really encouraged me, like, hey, these demos are good. You don't need a band. The demos that I'd produced electronically, I should say, using Reason and software and right. It was like kind of electronic stuff. And I always thought I would make demos electronically and I'd bring them to a band and then we'd be a rock band. Right. And he really talked me into like, hey, this is good. This is good as it is. You should do this. People would like to hear this. And so, then I probably, hit the bong again and was like, yeah, I guess I will. And that's definitely my supervillain origin story. So from there, even though I definitely grew up loving electronic music. I love big beat. I grew up kind of like, even in my rural area, like Prodigy and Crystal Method kind of like trickled down to me. So, the Matrix soundtrack. And
I was gonna say, like the Matrix and Spawn soundtracks had
Totally.
a very huge effect on so many of us.
Totally. So I had that stuff rattling around, and then through that, and then I played a show with Kept, which is Josh's project, and it like those kind of things really kind of came together, and I realized that there was this whole like other world of electronic music out there that I really hadn't been participating in, and because I am like I've been whatever, like I've never identified like as a goth or an emo or as a hipster or whatever, but I've certainly been accused of being all those things. So all of that stuff comes really natural to me. And so when I found this space that really like, that encourages this kind of stuff, and I really felt like I had found a home for me. And so I naturally kind of pivoted all the promotion that I had been doing as a band guy. And then it was a pretty easy leap for me to take that and put those efforts into the record label.
So it's interesting to me that I get this a lot because almost every electronic act that I have interviewed since coming back to interviewing people that has told kind of the same story of really being into synth pop and into electronic music. But then when they first started being in a band, they played like your traditional stuff like rock and played like bass guitar. And is it one of those things that, when you're young, you're like, okay, but this is what like music is, this is how you're supposed to do it as a teenager?
Maybe. I want to say that there's been a sort of economic change that's happened too. The economics of being an indie musician has really changed in the last 20 years, because in those days when we were teens, you could like, gas was 99 cents. You could afford like a guitar and an amp and a rehearsal space. Really. And like our cars were huge, so we could like go to we could pack all our gear and go play a stupid show somewhere. So really, I mean, like the economics of every single individual person, obviously we all know, has really changed in the last 20 years and 30, 40 years. And so it's because we all have laptops, because you have to have a laptop to go to work. For the most part, often, the barrier to entry to make music by yourself, and sort of the economic barrier to entry to make music by yourself on a computer is so low, that I think versus how much effort it is, I think, to go out and try to start a band. And then I also think too, we talked about this briefly off mic, but the way now that we turn to our devices and our screens to have all the kind of social interaction that we want. Mm-hmm. And so it's just kind of harder to start a band. There's a lot of reasons why, just like the social, the present, the factors that are present in our lives have made it just a little more, it behooves us to just be sort of solo artists and electronic artists, that just like, it's easier for water to run downhill that direction these days. I think that's the answer for me.
Actually that makes a lot more sense too, because like, if it's a lot harder to when you're forming a band in high school, you're trying to do it usually with your friends, and it's a lot harder sometimes to be like, all right guys, everybody grab their computers and we're all going to be computer musicians.
Dude, it's very actually hard to be, it's super easy to be like a solo computer musician, and you're totally right. The challenges of being like a computer ensemble are ridiculous, and so then you end up always sort of going back to live, right. Which is what my rock band did. Like it was like we started with tracks, and then we realized we had enough people, and we were good enough to just be live. And right. I think we're going to see a little bit of that I predict if I'm putting on my crystal, my crystal ball, that
You're putting it on your head?
yeah, I'm putting my crystal ball on my head.
Doing a
and then
Mysterio thing.
I'm gonna stand out in the sun, and I'm gonna focus it on the one ant that irks me the most. And what I'm saying is, I do think that coming back, I think we're going to see a little bit of a pendulum shift back to live bands, especially as we begin to relearn and re-experience the joy of being together in the same room, which is something that obviously we also know as a culture we're really missing right now.
So Joshua, did you really like playing bass, or are you much happier doing electronic music now?
I loved bass, and I still play bass. But I think, my tastes just kind of shifted. But I do think, like you said, it was just kind of, you're either going to play guitar, bass, or drums, or you're going to sing, or some combination. Like there wasn't that kid in any of my groups that was like, I'm going to play synth in this band.
Yeah.
Until a little bit later on. Then we met a few of those guys. But it was just kind of what it was at the time. But I still love playing bass and still do. So
I stole an FM synthesizer from my high school, and did bring it to a handful of band practices, but it's so hard to program FM that I couldn't really figure out how to make it sound cool. So we never went anywhere with it. We
always screwed around with, since, in between, actual rehearsing, and, would try and maybe work things into songs, but it just never went that direction until I, kind of went the solo route.
Right. And also in those days, the infrastructure wasn't always there to do that very well. Like, it's like headphone amps and a click for your drummer and all that kind of stuff. Some of those things you kind of need to do tracks and to do synths well. There's like synths are obviously way cheaper now too. So it's like, there's a whole lot of things that make it a lot easier to be kind of a synth forward band these days than what, we couldn't play with tracks in high school. You can do that now.
So, veering away from being musicians a little bit, you guys are officially the first representatives of record labels, really, that I've had in this month anyway. And kind of a question that I always have for people like that is okay, so you're making music, you're going to shows, you're playing shows. At what point do you just, is it a gradual process to suddenly put together your own record label? Or is there just this one crazy moment where it's like, you know what, now I'm going to make my own label with blackjack and hookers? Like, how did it happen? How did Give Take come to be?
So I've been kind of running indie labels for almost a good 20 years now.
Oh, so you've been insane for a long time then.
Yeah, exactly. Insane is a good way to put it.
Unhinged.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just a love and a passion for artists you believe in, but it really started out of necessity, right? It's like, you're a musician, you're progressing in your career, you're knocking on doors, and knocking and knocking and knocking, and no one is responding, and it became a necessity, right? It became an outlet to release my own music initially, and then just the passion for brilliant independent artists is where it kind of took on a life of its own. And then Gus and I, we met playing some shows about 9 years ago with our respective solo projects, and about 4 years in is when I told Gus I wanted to kind of start a new label, based on the experience and what I had learned from the prior one. And, I asked if he'd be willing to kind of come aboard and partner up with me. And that's how Give Take was born about 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
So when you started your first label, I kind of want to get back into the origin of it then.
Sure.
Is you started it to promote your own music, which makes pretty good sense. So at what point does it come to be more than just about yourself? Like, did someone approach you and be like, hey, can you promote my music too? Or did you see a band that was like, hey, are you signed yet? Because you guys are awesome. And if you're not, I really want to promote the hell out of what you do.
It was the second, for sure. Yeah, it was, just connections with different artists that I believed in at the time, and really thought I could help them out. And so with the prior label, we started off with a couple of compilations, which is always a great start for a label. And just grew from there, and took everything I learned, good and bad from that experience, and applied it fresh with Give Takes.
So meanwhile, Augustus, is this your first time being running a label?
Yeah, I had just absolutely no interest. But it's funny because what I did have was interest in, I wanted to do the work, and I still want to do the work. I love to do the work. I have a saying, being a musician is 90% cables and 10% unanswered emails. I mean, that's what the work is, if you really want to know what we do. And I'm very interested in that. And I've always been interested in sort of how can we come together as artists, as people, as a community, and not even just artists, with the DJs and the journalists and everybody as a community. What can we do to raise the tide for everybody? Right. And so this took the form of a label because Josh asked me to join. We had such a good working relationship and a good rapport, and I knew that basically from the moment we met, I had seen in Josh somebody who just puts in a ton of work, puts in a ton of really good effort. If he says he's going to do it, you can consider it done, and that's so rare in musicians that I knew that I knew that I didn't care what it was. If he asked me to do it, I was going to do it because it was going to be cool and it was going to be fun. And I've always been in the sort of, but at the same time, it's like, I've always been promoting other people's bands and promoting shows and throwing parties and not playing them, doing all that stuff. So it was definitely a natural move. I don't have the same record label, I'm not the same record label nerd, that Josh is. But I am certainly an indie music nerd.
Right. Yeah, a ton of experience in the industry in general, right? And that drive, that mutual drive and motivation.
So, yeah, I guess that kind of naturally opens up the question of, so how do your approaches towards Give Take differ? Like in what you do for the label and what your goals are?
Differ how so?
Well, so obviously if you have two guys running the label, they're not doing the exact same thing.
Right.
So, but not just a question of what do you bring to the table, but also what kind of drives you to keep going forward with Give Take as well. I think there's the broad answer of, well, I want to see these musicians succeed, but there's a lot of different ways to do that.
Yeah.
So what are each of you doing in Give Take that is striving towards those goals?
Josh, can I jump in here first?
Absolutely.
I want to say something that you would underplay. This man is one of the most hardworking, organized, creative people that you've ever met. It's a special skill. And Josh has it. And it's not every day that you work with artists and musicians who are extremely talented as an artist, who also can just follow up on emails and put things on calendars. Not everybody can do that.
He's the spreadsheet guy, huh?
We both have our spreadsheet. We both put on our spreadsheet hats from time to time, I will say. But I have to say that because Josh is going to give a more substantive answer, but I know he'll underplay that. So that needs to be said.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I think I'm probably more of the project manager role, like Gus alluded to, where, I kind of try and keep everything on track and follow up and try and organize broadly. But Gus is, I would say, our big idea person. And, when I'm stuck on something, when I have the start of an idea, I can call Gus and he'll finalize it in a 2-minute call. It comes that naturally to him. If we're looking on how to, how do we promote this specific release? How do we do it uniquely? Things like that.
Or I'll overwhelm you with 10 incredibly complex ideas.
right
that we could never do. But yeah, that's probably a fair. I'm not. I like a lot of music. Like a lot of musicians, I'm not the best at. Details are my Achilles heel. I'm not. I don't always get the details right. But it's also my strength, which is that I have an ability to zoom out a little bit further than I think than a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Make connections that are sort of unusual, that other people would make them, but maybe I just make them first or something. I don't know. So I'm not, whatever.
I think both of those are very important too, because you need someone that's going to be kind of grounded to prevent the other person from flying away into the clouds. But at the same time, you need someone who's going to take the guy who's grounded and lift him up in the air and go, now look at the whole thing. Now look at it from this angle. See how it's different? I think that's a great compliment for each other.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good way of putting it.
I think that...
yeah.
I lost you there, Josh.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Gus keeps us kind of on that cutting edge of innovation, where I might come at it from more of your old school kind of record label foundation. So I think that's another thing that you really bring to the table, keeping us kind of more innovative in today's day, and also bringing in that broader sense of purpose and community, right? So a little bit more than just your average, record label, indie record label, or, not one of, 1 million Bandcamp labels.
Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that innovation then. So I realize that this almost sounds like a job interview question, but what would you say differentiates Give Take from a lot of those 1 million Bandcamp labels, for instance?
Yeah. Well, here are several of our key performance indicators. There's from the start we have said that we want to have a specific vision for what it is that we're about, how we approach things. We always want to approach things with a kind of a why. We need to be able to say at any given point why we're doing this. Specifically, why this artist, why this format for this artist, why not this format for this artist, why this comp at this time. Everything needs to be just kind of comes from that place of the personal and professional certainty, where you know you really understand, you're tapped into what your values are and your goals are, and what it is that you think you have to offer for the music that you're going to promote, or the artist that you want to work with. That's something I think that really drives us and differentiates us. It's also worth saying we really, from the start, we were really focused on having a visual design that would always stand out. That we would, it's there for the music, but we always wanted to make sure that you kind of instantly, you had a sense that you were, if you were working with a give take artist or a give take release, that there'd be a couple clues you would always kind of know, like including the fact that we always put give take on the front cover of all of our art, so you've got a give take release in your hand, and it's going to be special. We take a lot of care to do really good, to really do like our packaging. We take it's like the better materials when possible, better formats whenever possible. The shirts, we're going to pick cotton shirts, just just like really have attention to the details of whatever format of whatever thing we're doing.
I remember when I was first working with you guys that like you were very even though everything is done digitally now with Subculture Shock and my other shows, you were very adamant about sending me physical stuff. That was still very important to you.
It still is.
The big part of who we are. Anybody can start a Bandcamp label. You can pump out 20 releases a week. I think the physical format is still really special, and that's being proven right now with the boom in vinyl and uptick in CDs.
Well, yeah, there's been it's interesting because the increase in vinyl production is especially, I'm noticing, in underground genres. Like you see some vinyl coming back for top 40 and things like that, but pretty much any Subshock artist that I play at this point is either doing vinyl or considering vinyl, and kind of the same thing with CDs. There seems to be this push back towards physical media again.
Yeah, I think I love digital music, so that's not to knock it, because I'm happy to stream. But there's just something special about experiencing the music in your hands. And we think about music as we do. We say this is our our tagline. We believe music is a sacred art form, and so in a lot of ways, like a physical. If you believe music is sacred the way that we do, then an object which carries those sounds, which carries that music, is a sacred object. And by virtue of the art and the care and the passion that artists put into it, that, in my opinion, imbues every single CD, every single record with a holiness that I think is beautiful. And I think people do respond on some level. I mean, that's maybe a little highbrow, but I do think on some level that people do respond to that in their own way.
I don't think it's highbrow at all, actually. Like, I hadn't considered it until you just said it, but I will admit, like, one of the appeals of digital music to me is that I didn't have to worry about scratching my CD or something, because as a teenager I was a mess with those things, and so I have some CDs that were really precious to me that I can't even play anymore.
Right.
And now I realize though that like that's the joy of why some people go back to CDs and vinyl. You have to take care of it. There's that special feeling of opening up the booklet and reading the liner notes and seeing the artwork in it. But there's also that feeling, especially with vinyl records, you gotta clean them. You gotta be careful where you drop the needle. With your CDs, you got taking the wrapping off a CD was annoying, but it was also like this.
Right.
You turned it into your own special way of how you did it for each CD.
With all of our vinyl releases too, we do make sure to include digital downloads. So it's definitely not a knock on streaming or anything digital, because we still realize that's that is now, and that's just kind of what occurred over time. And we're always looking for, you know, innovative ways to do even digital. But yeah, even our physical releases, we purposefully make sure they all come with a download.
And that also that kind of goes to your merchandise as well, because I also still have my Give Take shirt,
Nice.
which is just this big slash, and it's a black on black, so it's hard to see unless you're in a certain light, and then, you know, the reflective slash really shows off. But the thing that I also loved about that is that the texture of it was so different. Now, you know, I'm not someone that normally sits here touching my own chest, but maybe if I was, I would have more Twitch views. But
Something to consider, yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
but I definitely like that was just such a very different experience with even a t-shirt, and I think that just trying to, it almost seems like you're trying to make more of a visceral connection with your audience.
Well said. Yep. That's it.
So has there been, like, have you gotten positive response to these tactics?
We have, especially, you know, like you said, you mentioned, you know, we kind of insisted we send you an actual physical package. I think it's right now, you know, kind of the level we're at, that response occurs when people see more than one of our release together.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're at a record store, we kind of we work with a lot of indie record stores. We like it when people put together like a little give take section, right? We do like to be, of course, mixed in with the other artists as well. But I think that's how people really start to notice and respond to our whole thing, is when they see kind of all of this together, and especially in the physical format.
Yeah, we'll get these messages occasionally. Just someone will do what we did. You know, we'll send you a whole care package like we did for you, Pat, or we'll be in a store and someone will recognize like one of our artists and check it out, and we'll get these just, holy shit, I had no idea this was all this stuff. You guys are crazy. It definitely has an impact over time. That there's something about this the sum of the parts that I think really people do respond to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's a care that you put into it, because like you said, like anybody can promote artists, and there is something to be said for those people that are digitally promoting, you know,
Yes.
50 artists a week, but that's definitely a quantity, and there's a place for quantity, but you guys seem to be very much focusing on the quality of the experience. Here's a handful of artists, but we're going to make sure that your experience with those artists is going to be as stimulating, shall we say, as humanly possible.
Yeah. That's true. Subculture touch.
Yeah.
That's my next stream there. Well, you know what? I hadn't had anything for Friday of Streamcation yet. I can just sit here and just rub my chest over and over again.
No, we really try and put our kind of spin, or our, you know, marketing and packaging and promotional spin, you know, on each of the you know, releases that we curate. At the same time, really trying to portray that specific artist's vision, right? Just
right.
in the way we know works best.
So that actually brings up one of those impossible questions that only asshole interviewers ask.
Go on.
But so we've kind of touched on this subject a little bit about how you try to figure out exactly which artists you're going to add and how you're going to promote them. What makes a give-take artist?
We focus on auteur-driven projects with an electronic approach. That's the short answer. So, you know, if you have a unique vision, if you're good, I mean, really, I heard some advice long ago from Holly from from Zoo Animal, and she said, "Write good music and play it well," and that has really stuck with me. So I'm like, first and foremost, we're looking for people who write good music and play it well, and to be in our our wheelhouse. And typically it ought to have an electronic approach. That's what we do. But genre wise, people do. I think often people are surprised because they'll catch a harsh noise record that we put out or something, and they'll think that we'll think that we're a harsh noise band, or we'll put out we put out David J, and everyone's like, so you guys are like a Bauhaus thing? I was like, well, no, we focus on auteur-driven electronic projects, and so people do, which is part of the reason why it's nice for people to see like our whole catalog is not the word I'm looking for, but our whole catalog, so that you can experience the kind of the breadth of the genres that we do, and ultimately just kind of comes down to have a unique vision that we think we can improve, or not improve your vision, but how do you say it, Josh?
We can amplify it. We can take your vision, and we can do what we do best to hopefully allow as many people as possible to be exposed to it.
So in general, like, do you reach out to other bands? Do they reach out to you, or is it kind of a half and half where sometimes someone will come to you and be like, hey, what do you think? You're like, yeah, this will work. And other times it's like, oh man, are they signed yet? Let's go talk to that person over there.
I think it's definitely a combination. When we first started, a lot of people didn't realize the experience that we both had prior to Give Take. So being so new, we really had to kind of reach out to artists that, we thought fit, aside from our own projects.
To talk yourselves into being on your own label.
I mean, yeah. But now it's kind of moved more towards, these projects just kind of, they come towards us in one way or another. We still do seek out specific artists. I mean, there's always dream artists you want to work with, and we have no shame in approaching them and telling them what we can offer. But yeah, lately it's been more of artists approaching us, or we've got a couple of friends who are in A&R who present us with projects that are kind of fitting.
So now that you're kind of growing like that, I know that we got a little tease that apparently you're inventing a new music genre, but and of course now there's CryFest, like
CryFest.
Yep.
CryFest has to happen.
Yep.
But
It's so good.
what are the next steps? What are your goals now for Give Take?
Wow.
I don't know. This is like really interesting. I mean, I think the honest answer I wanted to say is that we want to keep doing what we're doing. This is fun. This is rewarding. We have
good. That's why you should be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some visions, some internal visions of where we think this is headed. And
hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, just absolute, just fucking devastation.
No, that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah. We definitely have some internal ideas of our vision of where we see this this label and this business going. But I think the truth is that we're already doing exactly what it is we want to be doing. And so now it's just about like learning everything we can learn, getting some lucky breaks, and just helping every single artist that we work with, absolutely maximize their potential, in the way that we can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and CryFest.
Big plans, but they're, aside from CryFest, they're all top secret.
Oh. Hey, Pat, we want to have an interview to talk about the stuff that we're doing, and then we're not going to tell you what we're doing.
Well, it depends. I mean, you want to talk about, upcoming releases, we got that. But yeah, some of the stuff we got to keep under wraps.
I understand. It'll make it that much more enjoyable when I find out.
Yeah. It's ironic, Pat, because like when we were like, we've got to reach out to Pat. Let's do this. We had a little lull. The thing is, we had a little lull in our release schedule, so we're like, let's get out and kind of talk to people a little bit, and get the word out a little bit. And then now, this is the nature of indie music, and this is the nature of like a small business or a small collective. Like in the time that we've since we were like, we wanted to maybe talk about, we had some ideas of what we would talk about, and then since then we've definitely we've sharpened some ideas and had some things come together. It's just that what we definitely feel that it's really important to announce things. We're very particular about the timings and the things that we announce things. It's definitely one of the things that we've learned over time, is just like be intentional and be specific about what you say and when, because you want to make sure that the message is right at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So CryFest is what we're going to announce here today.
Yeah. So you did say, though, that you can talk a little bit about some recent releases and possibly upcoming ones, though.
Yeah.
What can we look forward to in Give Take Land?
That's you, Josh.
We have a surprise release actually coming out tonight at midnight. Pat, I'm sure you know what it is. You were on the advance, but surprise release. I did
get an email, yeah.
Next up, we're going to have another full length from Tulip Tiger, which is Gus's partner, who just came off of a remix for Ricky Kedge and Stuart Copeland.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, we've got the full length Tulip Tiger. We've got another kind of top secret full length. I'll say it's an anniversary release. I can say that. So people can speculate. And then we've got the other top secret genre thing that Gus was mentioning. And a whole lot from there on out. Manifestive's got a full length. Mona Muir has a full length, all later this year. More artists to announce that we've signed. It just goes on and on.
We recently, a big release for us was David J., who's the one of the founding members of Bauhaus.
I thought that was so cool to see that on your label.
Oh, it was amazing. We did too. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was really, really special for us. So that was something that we were really proud of. And I mean, the thing is, it's crazy. It's like I'm as proud of the Manifestive releases I am of David J.
Well, that's because the Manifestive release also kicks ass.
Also really, really good.
Thank you.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I got a Heatwave International from you recently too. I think.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was just mind-blowingly incredible.
Yeah.
So.
More from Heatwave coming soon. Yeah, and anybody that really wants kind of a first sneak peek, if they purchase something physical from our Bandcamp or our site, right now we're actually giving away a free. It's not public, but it's a free compilation CD. And it's got a whole bunch of stuff on there that we haven't even announced yet. Don't pause it.
Yeah, that's true. If you wanted the inside scoop, that'd be the way to get it. There is some stuff on there that's like because we have to be really intentional about what we announce and when, but we needed to get this comp out. So there is a little secret, handful of secrets actually on this comp that are pretty incendiary.
Well, I guess I need to go buy some merch then.
Call to action.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
And of course, DJ D42 and Atom Bomb in chat asking if there are going to be any music videos anytime soon.
Of course. Absolutely.
Because they of course want to promote you as well.
Yeah.
Over to you quick.
Yep, that's happening.
Yep. So I'm always amazed at how quickly the 50 minutes just flies by. So was there anything else you all wanted to mention or plug this evening?
If people go to if they go to givetake.life, just plug that right in your browser. .life is an actual extension.
I did not know that until I was writing the event for this and linking your website, and was like, you've got to be shitting me.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, givetake.life. Scroll to the bottom of the page, sign up for our mailing list. You'll be the first to get these announcements. We offer member discounts, all kinds of, really, really kind of exciting things. More, I'd say, than your average mailing list. So if people, go ahead and sign up there, we won't spam you too much, but there'll be some cool stuff.
Yeah, especially the stuff that's coming up this year. You'd want to be one of the first to know. So the mailing list is definitely a great way to stay in touch with us. And then, we try to treat our mailing lists well. We think that's a really important way to connect with our audience.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you mentioned the website, Give Take Life. I'm guessing you guys are on Facebook, and is there an official Give Take Bandcamp?
There is.
Yeah.
All at Give Take Life. So.
Okay.
Yep, all one word, Give Take Life, and the website is givetake.life. Yep.
Awesome.
So what we'd like you to do is find us on your favorite social media platform, go follow us, and then we'd also like you to go immediately to our website and join our mailing list. So do two things, and then you're going to be ahead of the curve on some incredible music.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, for real. Well, yes, we are here on this show for sure.
And so I want to thank both of you, Josh and Gus, for joining me tonight. For those of you that are watching live, the after party is actually going to be special. This was when Augustus first reached out to me. I was like, could we do an interview or maybe a showcase? And I was like, how about both? Because the after party happens right after Subculture Talk. So it's going to be the very first after party showcase. We're going to play nothing but give take artists. It's going to be a whole lot of fun and wacky and weird.
That's true.
And if you are not watching live, if you're watching on YouTube, well, you've just been given very specific instructions about going to givetake.life and signing up for a mailing list.
Yeah.
So now you know what you're doing after this video.
Mm-hmm. You can open a tab right now. It's so easy.
Thanks for having us, Matt. We appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much for being on the show. Feel free to jump in, chat, and hang out during the after party. Say hi to people.
Yeah, we'll be there.
All right, so that's going to do it for this one, and thank you all for tuning in.
Super good to be here.